Good morning, all. Today in site surveying and planning, we are going to cover the topic contours, grades, and microclimate, in which we will be covering contours, slopes, types of slopes, and its percentage, watersheds, microclimate, factors influencing microclimate, in which we'll be seeing the different elements that inputs in microclimate. So, first thing is contours. So what is a contour? A contour is a line drawn on a topographic map to indicate ground elevation or depression. A contour interval is the vertical distance or difference in elevation between contour lines. Index contours are bold or thick lines that appear at every fifth contour line. So in this picture you can see different lines. So in this different line, this is the line, this is a contour line which show the topographical differences, the height from the ground level to certain level. So this thick line shows the every fifth line is this thick line. This is called index line, and the contour interval is the vertical distance of difference in elevation. So these are the difference in elevation. So in this picture you can see the find the index contours, determine the elevation difference between two index contours. So this is 800 meters and this is 700 meters contour line. The difference is 100 meters. So count number of spaces between two index contours. It's 5 lines, 1 2 3 4 5. So each one is a 50 meters distance we have. This is the contour lines. The goals of contour grading includes to create a natural appearing hillside development, to provide graded slopes that resembles surrounding natural terrain, to mitigate the need for natural retaining walls and other man-made features. So contour grading techniques includes, first thing is area grading instead of individual lot grading. So area grading includes, the intent of contour grading is to study the slope appearance of the natural hillsides in the project vicinity, to design a grading scheme which resembles these natural features. Where possible, pads should follow contours when this type of solution does not conflict with desirable drainage solutions. A series of small pads that are curvilinear, irregularly shaped, and follow the form of hillside or permeable to large square-shaped pads. Contour grading shall be used to create paths and yard areas which complement hillside features. So, smooth transition on slopes includes, graded slopes shall have rounded contour edges to provide for smooth cuts and curvatures. Contour grading should soften all edges left by cut and fill operations. Undulating slope banks. Graded slopes shall undulate to emulate natural conditions. The intent of contour grading is to employ a variety in the steepness and configurations on slopes. Contour grading should be used to blend the graded slopes with the natural undulating character of the hillside platform. Next is the retaining walls. Retaining walls may not exceed X feet in the height as per structural specifications and should be designed to be as short as possible. Where possible, retaining walls should be curvilinear to bend with the existing grades and topography. Riprap. Riprap, it is also known as a rubble, short rock or rock armor, is a rock or other material used to armor shorelines, stream beds, bridges, embankments, piling, and other shoreline structures against water or ice erosion. It is made from a variety of rock types, commonly granite or limestone, and occasionally concrete rubble from building and paving demolition. It can be used on any waterways or water containment where there is potential for water erosion. Next is grip wall. Grip walls are one of the oldest gravity wall systems, comprised of a series of staked members creating hollow cells filled with soil or rock. So this picture will clearly explain everything. This first picture is already pinned in the place or sealed with the exterior blanket. This is just a blanket that shows the slope. This is the netted grounded covers. There is a net in the grounded covers. This is reinforced earth, in which reinforcement, you can see in this picture, there is a reinforcement happening. That is the inserting of rods in the slope. This is the riprap method, as we explained already. The riprap method is stone walls are placed above the slope. This is grip wall. Grip wall is the different steps that is created in the slope. The alteration of existing topography and drainage patterns on large tracts of foothill and steeper hillside lands should be carefully assessed to ensure protection of existing landscape character, area, wildlife, visual appearance. The alteration of existing topography and drainage patterns on large tracts of foothill and steeper hillside land should be carefully assessed to ensure protection of the existing landscape character, area, wildlife, and visual resources. So this picture shows the building forms respect ridge guides and valleys. This is a valley and ridge, we know, and avoid destruction of this ridgeness and valley while doing the building. So we can use the slope while we are building the site. So it is not necessary to shape this. So this picture in which they shown that existing landscape character is not spoiled. The building is done as per the natural ways. Next is the view assessment. Plan view of site plan, preserving views to and from site. So this is a site and there's a landscape characters surrounding the site, and there's a visual effect from the site to this landscape area in the slope areas. The same you can see in the sectional view. This is a sectional view of the site. This section view of a site preserving views and to and from the site. So here we have a building, and in the second slope we have a building. The first building is not interrupting the view of the second site. So this slopey area is very useful in this case. Building to take advantage to topography. Similarly, in the mountain views, we can see these resorts in the mountain views while preserving views and landscape. Grading new road preserves landscape and topography. We can see the roads in the hilly areas, the way the landscape is maintained in between the roads. This picture shows straight slope banks heightens monotony in the roadway landscapes. This is a picture, and this is the unnatural cut slope edge, standard cut into ridge on ridgeness. This is a bank. Engineered slope banks look forced and unnatural. This is unnatural, this is a natural slopes. Variety in interlating the slope bank creates pleasing roadscape and round off cut edges to conform to the natural grade. And this one is a rounded contoured edges. In this, the variety in slope bank gradients creates a natural appearance more resembling the nature. This is only altered and it is not at all made unnatural. So use of grading techniques to preserve natural contours of the land. This is the natural method of grading techniques. It's a local street, standard subdivision rectangular cuts, and this increase horizontal distance to flatten and soften grade configuration. So according to the site conditions, this site is shaped horizontally, and this is unnatural. It looks unnatural. Actually, natural site, it looks unnatural because it has been cutted straight and made the site. So this will be the right option to do the contour. Next is proposed grade cuts and fills in foothill and steeper hillside areas should imitate natural slope changes and be rounded off both vertically and horizontally to minimize any scarring of land and to provide gradual transition to the use of hills. So this is a roadway and cut slope into hillside. This is a cut slope, unnatural edge conditions. This is the way of cutting and round off cut slope to conform to the natural contours of the hill. So this is a round of cut slope to conform to the unnatural contours of fields. So in this picture we have lot of cut, cutting is happening, and here we are going through the natural line and we have less cut line for the roads. Whereas in the next picture, populating the roadway, we are maintaining the landscape over here and knob remaining from the road cutoff. So this road is cutted like over here. Here we are maintaining the natural contours and we have created only the roadway and we are maintaining the other spaces. And this is right. Here we are removing knobs on the roadway cuts to conform to the natural grade. This is a mass grading to accommodate one level major highway. So here we are cutting and filling method is happening, and we have lot of spaces to cut and space to fill, and we are creating a bigger roadway. So instead of this, we can do like we can create a road and we can maintain the slope over here, and then we can do the road in other level. So these are the two types of slopes. This is the used where it slopes and berms to resemble natural features. So this shows a natural contour lines and the landscape is also maintained naturally. Whereas here you have a sharp angles and we have a uniform slopes which shows very unnatural. The explained as sharp angles and uniform slope banks appears unnatural. And this is the types of building that is set into hillside or backfield. Uh, is a slope and proper cut and fill method is applied, and there are two levels of building. The first level is shown with certain cut and next level with certain cut, and whereas here the whole building is made into single level, whereas the big cut and fill method is followed. So high retaining walls created flat pattern. So whereas here set into inside backfield. So this is economical compared to this, and also it is a environmental friendly because we have cut down very less contour. Grades or slopes. The grade, also called slope, incline, gradient, pitch or rise of a physical feature, topographic, landform or constructed element, refers to the amount of inclination of the surface to the horizontal. Slope is a very important plant feature. It often determines whether a piece of land should be used for grass, trees or cultivated crops. Slope also determines the rate at which water flows downhill. Water flows slowly over a gentle slope and rapidly over a steep one. The steepness of a slope can be evaluated as follows. Nearly level is 0 to 2 percentage has low limitation on its uses. Any limitations are the result of other factors such as drainage. Next, gently sloping is nothing but 3 to 6 percentage, desirable for almost any type of development, may have erosion problems. Limitations are due mostly to factors other than slope. Next is moderately sloping, that is 6 to 12 percentage, may have severe erosion problems and has a strong appeal for single family development. Strongly sloping includes 12 to 18 percentage, which has severe limitations for all types of construction. Residential development is sometimes considered because of the scenic views associated with such terrain or when other sites are unavailable. Steep slope is 18% and over, undesirable for most development, may be suitable for split level and earth sheltered buildings with expensive precautions. Slope forms. Five basic slope forms: straight, convex, concave, S-shaped, and irregular. This is a straight slope, convex slope. This is a irregular slope. It is mostly there in the most of the terrains. And this is a concave, and this is a S-shaped slope. Slope categories and development limitations: 0 to 7% slope, flat to moderately sloping. which has no slope limitations on the development or cultivation. However, some of these areas are subject to flooding and poor drainage. Few limitations for residential, commercial, and industrial activities not requiring large amount of level ground. Development of large tracts is more limited due to grading cost. No limitations on pasture, forest, forage crops, and orchard uses for 7 to 5% slope, that is rolling land. Next is 15 to 25% slope, hilly land. It is suitable for residential development if the site takes topography into account. Construction of water and sewer facilities can be quite costly and economically infeasible. No slope limitations on pasture, forest, forage, crop, and orchard uses. 25% slope and over, usually considered unsuitable for intensive development and cultivation. When combined with conservation practices, land may be used for outdoor recreation, wildlife management, watershed protections, and forest purposes. So this is a slopes and application to the site and design. This is a moderate slope structures may be elevated on the piers of the columns. So these are the piers of the columns, and these are implemented underneath the contours, and the building is elevated over that. This is the elevated piers or columns, in which here be cut into slope. The slope has been cut down. The linear or planar loads. There is no piers implemented directly. The site has been made flat according to the cut and fill method, and later it has been constructed. These are the flat slopes. In this flat slope, the structures over water may be supported by the flattened or on clasped on the columns or the pillars rooting on the subsurface base. Whereas here it has been elevated on piers and columns as like this one, and here the flat slope, so earth paths aid in the draining surface water away from the structures. Here the height of the structure seasonal water table should be checked, and to be avoid the need of waterproof the lower grade structures, earths may be act as a building side walls. This is the effects of the slope. Steep slope structures may sit elevated on piers or columns for minimum disturbance of the ground plane. This one is the terraced or stopped within the slope. It has been cut into slope. Slope stability analysis is generally performed to access the safe design of a human-made or natural slopes, embankments, road cuts, open pit mining, excavations, landfalls, and equilibrium conditions. Slope stability is the resistance of inclined surface to failure by sliding or collapsing. The main objectives of slope stability analysis are finding endangered areas, investigation of potential failure mechanisms, determination of slope sensitivity to different triggering mechanisms, designing of optimal slopes with regard to safety, reliability, and economics, designing possible remedial measures, for example, barriers and stabilization. Successful design of a slope requires geological information and site characteristics, example properties of soil or rock mass, slope geometry, groundwater conditions, alteration of materials by faulting, joint or discontinuity systems, movement and tension in joints, earthquake activity, etc. The presence of water has a determinantal effect on slope stability. Water pressure acting is the pore spaces, fractures or other discontinuities in the materials that make up the pit slope will reduce the strength of those materials. Choice of correct analysis technique depends on both side conditions and the potential mode of failure, with careful consideration be given to the varying strengths, weakness, and limitation inherent in each methodology. This is cut and fill method. The picture shows the pink line which will be cutted and make it as a straight line. So this part will be cutted, and the blue part is be filled with the same cutted part and has been full straight line has been formed. The part of a ground surface that been graded is lower than the original ground. Fill, the part of the ground surface that been graded is higher than the original ground. So cut method will lower down your level, and fill method will higher down your level. Ridge and valley. Ridge or a topographic that separates the landscapes into a series of drainage areas called watershed. So this picture shows a contour lines, and this is the U. This is called as U, and this is called as U. U's facing downhill indicate a ridge. U's facing uphill indicates a valley. So the U which is like this is the valley, that is the lower part, and this is the ridge, the upper part. The U's facing downhill indicate the ridge. Slope analysis. So these are the slope analysis. We already seen what is the type of slopes. This 15% and above slopes are here in the dark brown, and 5% to 15% slopes are shown in light brown color, and 0 to 5% slopes are shown in light yellow color. So these areas are good for construction. Engineered, naturalized. Embankment, landscape curve. Shape is slope. Gully, which is engineered, and this is naturalized, that is called swales. Ditch, this is a common ditch, naturalized ditch. This is a ditch made by engineering, and this is a mound, natural. This is unnatural mound, and this natural. Blending of natural landforms with the engineered. Next is watershed, a area or ridge of land that separates water flowing in two different river basins or seas. An area of land that catches rain and snow and drains or seeps into a marsh, stream, river, lake, or groundwater. Homes, farms, cottages, forests, small towns, big cities, and more can make up watersheds. Some cross municipal, provincial, and even international borders. They come in all shapes and sizes and can vary from millions of acres, like the land that drains into the Great Lakes, to a few acres that drain into a pond. A watershed is a basin-like landform defined by high points and ridge lines that descend into lower elevations and stream valleys. A watershed carries water shed from the land after rainfalls and snow melts. Drop by drop, water is channeled into soils, groundwaters, creeks, and streams, making its way to larger rivers and eventually the sea. Water is universal solvent affected by all that it comes in contact with the land it traverses and the soil through which it travels. Importance that about watershed is what we do on the land affects water quality for all communities living downstream. So making of river, precipitation, snowpack, runoff, farmland, homes and roads, dams, factory plants, this is ocean, and a groundwater flow. It has been collected over here. Next is microclimate. The climate of very small or restricted area, especially when this differs from the climate of surrounding area. The local atmospheric where the climate differs from the surrounding area. The site of the building may have many microclimates caused by the presence of valleys, slopes, streams, and other buildings. The prime parameters, the air temperature, air movement. Flat site experience little variation. Airspeed increases up the slope and decreases down it. Depression valleys experience low air temperature. They have a little air movement unless they lie in the direction of airflow. Pressure difference caused by obstacles. So there are obstacles. So the pressure difference, like if the wind is blowing, the obstacles make the pressure too less. Landform optimization in hot climates, building in a depression and shading from heat and wind minimizes heat gain and discomfort. Protection from katabatic winds on slope. A cool mass of air descending down a slope can be deflected or minimized by thick vegetation. Air speeds are greatest on the crest. Uses of trees are windbreakers. So these are the two types. The same house shown in two types. So cold wind, the heavy wind is coming, and it has been broken by the landscape. Whereas here it is coming directly to the house. So this is the way the trees has been used and the landscape has been used to break the cold winds. The effect of edges or shelter. The size of the edge faces the sun, it would be warmer. The side of the edges in the shade, it would be cooler. This has been used as a cooling part. So same way the effect of a shelter. This side of the wall is exposed to the wind. It would be cooler. The side of the wall is sheltered from the wind. It would be warmer. Physical features. Water areas, lakes have a cooling effect on the land. Trees can also shade the land. It would be cooler. Light surfaces such as grass reflect heat. It would be cooler. Dark surfaces such as tarmac store heat. It would be warmer. So these cement roads, everything will be warmer, and the landscape become cooler. The effects of buildings. Buildings store heat and give it out in the afternoon. Buildings close together can break up winds. It would be warmer, especially in the afternoon. Sometimes wind speed can increase if it rushes around the building. Here it would be cooler. So there should be a proper openings, and there should be some setbacks between the buildings. Whereas here there is no proper setback, so it stores heat and there is no space to release the heat. The effect of the aspect. If a place or person is facing south, then they will get more sun, it will be warmer. If a place or person is facing north, then they will get less sun, it would be cooler. Factors influencing microclimate. First is the solar axis, minimizing solar overheating in summer while maximizing solar access during winter. Building with a heating requirement should be oriented north-south with maximum glazing on the south face. Trees offer excellent means of site shading. The colors of surrounding surfaces will have an effect on solar radiation available to the building. Grass planted outside a building will reduce the ground reflected solar. Use of courtyards and water can also moderate the effects of high temperature on summer. Wind control. Avoidance of funnel-like gaps between buildings. Avoidance of flat-roofed building and cubical forms. Avoid abrupt changes in building heights. Orientate long axis of the building parallel to the direction of the wind. Use podium to limit down draft at the ground level. Groups of buildings can be arranged irregular patterns to avoid wind tunneling. Coniferous trees and fencing and other landscape features reduce the impact of wind and driving rain on the building structure. The climate deviation factors which may cause local deviation are topography, slope, orientation, exposure, elevation, hills or valleys at or near the site, ground surface, natural or man-made, three-dimensional objects, trees or tree belts, fences, walls and buildings. Landform orientation and building placement in hot climates. If the slope is steep or the sun is low, a northern slope may minimize heat gain, but this would also cut off winter sun. In some cases, earth-sheltered construction on the south slope would be the answer. Building design. In hot climates, a north slope would be preferable as it would receive the least direct radiation. However, this is true only if the slope is steep enough to shade the building. As a result, slope orientation is of little consequence. The building should be placed so as to maximize airflow. In moderate climates often have cooler cold winters. While the prime need is to minimize the heat gain, there is also a period when heating is required. If therefore one is building on a sufficiently steep north slope, it would be advisable to build into the slope. This would make a building warmer during winter and cooler during summer. However, we would be deprived of the pressure of direct sunshine. The amount of daylight available needs to be considered. Further, we also need to consider the airflow pattern for the slopes we are building on. Building placement from point on airflow and that of solar radiation may not always be the same. Vegetation pattern. Vegetation increasing, decreasing and directing airflow. So this is the building and the vegetation and the airflow. The flow of the building and its flow of air through the openings, and here also through openings. Compare the height of the tree in this building and this building. Vegetation causes pressure differences which shift the air path. Climatic implications. Vegetation and trees in particular very effectively shade and reduce heat gain. It also causes pressure differences, thereby increasing and decreasing airspeed or directing airflow. They can therefore direct air into a building or deflect it away. Building design. In all dry climates where heat gain is to be minimized, trees can be used to cut off the east and west sun, or breezes can be effectively cut off. Planting deciduous trees is very useful in all dry climates. They provide comforting shade in summer and shed their foliage in winters, allowing sun. Evergreen trees can be used in cold climates to cut off breezes. However, they would also absorb solar radiation and thereby cool the place. In warm, humid regions, vegetation can be employed to maximize airflow. However, if they are not planted carefully, they would end up reducing air speeds. Water bodies. Water bodies absorb much heat during the day and re-radiate it at night. Building design. In hot dry climates, the water or water bodies can be used both for evaporative cooling as well as minimizing the heat gain. Taking into account wind patterns and vegetation, they can be used to direct cool breeze into the house. The roof cone minimizes the heat gain throughout the roof. In cold climates, water bodies are beneficial only if their heat gain and loss can be controlled. This would happen only if the water body can be enclosed by the building. The wind pattern would have to be studied and winds avoided either by building location, vegetation pattern or both. In warm humid regions, water bodies are best avoided. The minimal benefit provided by evaporative cooling could be offset by the heightened humidity levels. So that's all about this unit. We'll be seeing the third unit soon. Thank you.